Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Qatar Amphitheatre here in Doha for the latest instalment of the What Gravity Challenge, the standalone high jump competition, which is the brainchild of local superstar Mutaz Essa Bashim and the Qatari Athletics Federation. A special event deserves a special home, and we certainly have that here. A stunning open-air venue that blends classical Greek design with Islamic artistic heritage, very much a jewel on the local landscape. Well, last year's event provided superb entertainment and proved to be hugely popular, so it's no surprise that it has retained its place on the global athletics calendar. Indeed, a second event for 2025 will take place in Germany in August as part of the What Gravity Challenge Tour. And tonight we should enjoy double the fun as we did in 2024, as not only are 12 of the world's best male jumpers here, but we also have a women's competition with a very talented field of 11 athletes, led by the irrepressible Yaroslava Mahuchikh, who, let's be honest, has won just about everything there is to win. And having doubled the number of disciplines for 2025, we felt it only right to double the number of commentators. So I'm delighted to be joined by athletics journalist and broadcaster Michelle Zammit. Michelle, lovely to have you here. This promises to be something very special.
Absolutely, Andy. I am so excited for this competition. We were here last year, watched the first edition of the What Gravity Challenge. And this year, as you said, double the fun. We've got the women joining as well. So I'm really glad that I get to join you and we get to watch some world-class high jump.
We'll talk about the athletics we're about to see in a few moments, but let's just take in this spectacular arena, which the audience will see shortly. It is absolutely stunning.
I mean, the venue is incredible. The lighting is perfect. We are going through, like flying through this entire landscape here. We've got this amphitheatre that is almost custom built for this high jump venue. You've got the sea right behind it. We can see the moon in the sky. I mean, it couldn't be any better.
And luckily we are in the shade, because I can tell you that during the day here in Doha it was blisteringly hot. We nearly had a disaster in terms of commentary when my co-commentator's notes blew across the beach. A man scrambled to go and get those back. But you're absolutely right, Michelle. I mean, this is built for events like this. And I think we need to also explain just in what high regard Bashim is held in this country. When he first came up with this idea and approached the Qatari Athletics Federation, it went from idea to reality pretty quickly.
I mean, if he wants something, he gets it. And I think that's really the spirit that you're getting here. It's, you see people really respect him. They know what he's done for the country. They know what he's done for athletics in this country. And I mean, he's had a vision. He was talking about it yesterday at the press conference. He mentioned the fact that when he's on the road, he has a lot of time to think. He takes a lot of notes, and at some point he took notes about this, and then at some point he just decided to go for it last year. And the other thing that is really great, as he said, is the fact that he can do something that sets him up for beyond his career while he's still active, which not many athletes can do. Absolutely.
You, of course, have been following this sport for a long time, such as myself. I think this was crying out for a women's event to join the men. I mean, obviously I realised that last year was very much an experiment. That experiment clearly worked, so this is the natural progression. But also hearing rumours that we might not be stopping there. You know, we're looking at potentially inviting juniors, and more on that a little bit later, but juniors potentially in 2026, and even on the bus here, because we're going to be talking about some of the legends who are here in Doha, even a legends competition. And I just suggest if we're going to do that, we need to seriously increase the number of medical personnel.
Absolutely. You mentioned the junior side of things. Again, we will talk about that in a little bit more. But the other thing, as you said, that is so great about this, I know Mutaz last year really wanted the women already as part of the competition, but we had the Doha Diamond League the day afterwards, and there were women competing there. We couldn't have them compete back to back. So this year it's spread out a little bit more. The women have the opportunity to join this year, and then next week the men will also be jumping at the Diamond League. So all over the span of an entire week, world-class athletics in Doha.
It's a good week for athletics in Doha, isn't it? And, you know, let's be honest, other sports are raising their games. Athletics is doing its own thing. We've got the World Relays, of course, starting tomorrow in China. That's one of the governing body's standalone events. But, you know, we need events like, and I say we as the World Athletics family or the athletics family, global athletics family, we need events like this to prove to the world that we have other things we can offer.
Absolutely, and again, this is so exciting because really showcasing a certain set of disciplines really gives them the attention they deserve. I mean, you mentioned the World Relays this weekend in Guangzhou in China. It's all eyes on the relay, and we know there's drama in the relays, and it sets us up perfectly as a qualification event for the World Championships in Tokyo in September this year. But of course, an event like this, again, with all eyes on the high jump, sometimes when you're in a big stadium, the high jump can get lost a little bit. You don't really appreciate the heights that these athletes are clearing, especially in relation to their own height, and we've got some stats on that we can talk about later as well. But I think having a standalone event like this, where really it's all eyes on the high jump, it just really makes you appreciate what these guys and girls are doing even more. I think we're just a few minutes away from the start of the competition. We've got an amazing lineup here in the women's field. We'll go through the start list once they get introduced, but let's just say world record holders, world champions, world medalists, area medalists, so really, really talented field.
You certainly got the impression at the press conference that we both attended yesterday. Mutaz was there, of course, Hamish Kerr, Wu was there, Mahuchikh, and Eleanor Patterson. You got the impression that they didn't have to be persuaded to come here. There was no arm twisting. The invitation went out, and the invitation was very, very quickly accepted, yeah.
Absolutely, and again, some of the women were here watching last year because they were competing the following day, and they were so gutted that they couldn't compete because they could see that it was their thing. And again, I think it was Yaroslava who mentioned this being a family affair and how close they are. We talked about, everybody talks about the pole vault community, but actually the high jumpers are really close-knit, and also there are so many events around the world that are specific to the high jump. I mean, this event has now expanded. It's not just the What Gravity Challenge, it's the What Gravity Tour, and we'll actually have a second stop on the tour in Heilbronn in Germany, 9th and 10th of August. So What Gravity continues around the world, and really this is such an exciting time for events like the high jump, really showcasing the athletes and giving them the attention they deserve, because this is a golden era, especially in this women's high jump.
Well, I can see the athletes are beginning to make their way off the warm-up area, and as you can imagine, being modern-day sport, there are screens everywhere, LED, absolutely as far as the eye can see, and we understand they're going to be introduced to the crowd before the competition starts. I will be bluntly honest with you, in what order they're introduced, we are not too sure, so you will see that as we will see it. It adds to the jeopardy, adds to the excitement.
Love a bit of jeopardy.
And the audience beginning to fill up here. I mean, it's still relatively early here, and of course there'll be people finishing their day off, Friday being the big day off here in Qatar and in this region, being with the family, but now I think making their way here. Obviously Barshim would be the big draw in the men's competition, so perhaps it's going to fill up even more a little bit later on. But, you know, the time's getting close, 17:39 here in Doha. We would do a 17:40 start. I can see still one or two of the athletes are laying around. Not the traditional benches. That's another lovely touch here in Doha. You have the traditional carpets and cushions. It's very of the area.
It is, and again, it's all about having those local touches. It's really nice to be able to celebrate those aspects of the sport. I mean, a lot of the athletes, they normally bring their own mats. Yaroslava famously often brings her own sleeping bag. In temperatures like this, I don't think we'll see her wrapped up as we normally would when it's a little bit colder, but I think especially talking to the high jumpers yesterday as they came to the venue to to check out all of the facilities, make sure they're all happy with everything. They were very happy about the temperature because it means they have to worry less about cooling out. So definitely something important for them.
Now, I've always thought that pole vaulters was a bunch as mad as ferrets, but there are one or two interesting little foibles that the high jumpers have got. As you say, particular clothing. Some of them seem to be going on a hike up the Himalayas before they start. Of course, you've got the Australian who makes notes before and after every jump. I think there's something about vertical jumpers that makes them a little bit different from other athletes.
Definitely, and again, a lot of it is similar to, as you mentioned, the pole vault, another vertical jump. They have time to kill. Quite often, sometimes they're skipping a height, sometimes they have to wait for several other attempts if they already clear a bar in the first attempt. So it's quite difficult for them sometimes to stick around and just maintain that concentration. I read somewhere Yaroslava Mahuchikh, often when she lies down, she closes her eyes. Sometimes she says she looks up in the sky, looks at the clouds. Sometimes she just counts. Sometimes she does breathing exercises. So it's just all about making sure that they stay focused, and everybody does that in a different way. As you mentioned, some take notes, some journal, and others just chat. You often see that as well.
One other athlete in particular I wanted to talk about, we mentioned juniors a little bit earlier on, and this is a really, really nice touch. Yes, we've got 10 of the best female high jumpers here. We've got a young 18-year-old from Australia. She's made a pretty long trip to be here. Her name's Zoe Peacock. Can you just explain to the people watching how she has got herself a place in this illustrious lineup?
Absolutely. So the great thing about Zoe is, I mean, talk about being spontaneous. Basically, at the start of the week, Mutas did a call out on social media on the What Gravity Challenge Instagram and invited junior jumpers from around the world to submit a high jump video of themselves. And he would analyze it together with his team, and they would choose the best jumps, and they would get invited to come here. And Zoe Peacock is the lucky winner. You mentioned all the way from Australia. She got the call on Wednesday. Wednesday morning. She jumped on a plane on Wednesday evening and arrived in Doha Thursday morning, and now she is jumping with some of the world's best high jumpers. And it's been really nice to see yesterday and today as well how much the other girls have taken her under her wing. Obviously Eleanor Patterson, being Australian as well, really has made it her task to really help her out there, and it's been championing that. And that was something else that was talked about yesterday in the press conference. Just the level of high jump in Australia right now is quite impressive, and talking about how much the Australians and the Ukrainians are really pushing themselves. I remember when Eleanor was saying that it was Nicola Olislagers who cleared 2 meters first, and then she followed very quickly afterwards. And of course, having that ongoing battle with the likes of Yaroslava Mahuchikh, Yuliya Levchenko, Irina Gerashenko. So there are a lot of talented athletes specifically from those two countries. But again, this just shows the depth and the strength of the women's high jump in particular at the moment.
You mentioned Ukraine and Australia there. I would say it's something about the yellow vest, but then again, all my Australian friends would kill me because it's not yellow, of course, it's gold. I must never ever forget that. Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity for young Zoe. She was in the lobby earlier with her dad, I think it was, and she did look a little nervous, a little pensive, but everybody's just saying, look, go out there, give it your best. She's in pretty decent nick. You know, I saw she cleared 184, a lifetime best, just a couple of weeks ago. So if she could come out and do something like that, you know, that wouldn't be too shabby at all.
No, exactly. And I mean, she came second at the Australian Under-20 Championships earlier this year. Again, Southern Hemisphere, their season is completely different to the Northern Hemisphere. So she's been jumping all northern winter long, her southern summer long. So actually, maybe this just kind of peaking towards this competition. So great opportunity for her. And it'll be really interesting to see what we'll be seeing from these athletes. I think if we're looking at the height progression, I believe the starting height is 175. Again, to accommodate the junior athletes, to make sure they have the opportunity to get a few jumps in as well. So we will see that shortly as the athletes are now getting ready to be led out and introduced to the crowd that is assembling here.
just off screen at the moment, but a couple of officials have come out and obviously said that they're pretty close to getting ready, so the athletes will disappear behind some LED screens as you see an overhead shot of exactly where we are, and that is that's a pretty stunning picture, isn't it?
It is incredible. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. This venue, the Qatar Amphitheatre here, with the skyline in the background and the sea right next to it. It really looks like it's been custom built. So we can now see they're getting ready for this women's final, the first ever women's final of the What Gravity Challenge. Who
Certainly
will
won't be
take
the last.
trophy? Yes.
Certainly won't be the last. So the drone continues to make its way around this amazing venue. You can see some of the city in the background. That's the older part of Doha. Athletes lining up for a few photos. Good to see that Zoe Peacock now has a bib. That was one of the jobs of the officials I saw frantically running around a few moments ago, because 10 bibs were located, 11 athletes had turned up. So one was quickly and hastily made for Zoe Peacock. There you can see the full start list, and you know, no surprise that listed number 1 is Yaroslava Mahuchikh. And at the press conference yesterday, somebody made the point that it would be quicker to talk about what she hadn't won, because she has just dominated this competition for the last year or so.
I mean, really, she's one of those athletes that comes out and delivers time and time and time again. Like, she really is not just a championship performer, but also someone that just any meet that she shows up, she really delivers. It's very rare that we see her struggle in conditions. What is also really exciting about her is how she, again, when she was talking about the high jump being such a family affair for her, how important it is sometimes to have these events that are fun. Not everything is serious, not everything is that one moment that you build towards your career, but it's nice to get out there and jump and have fun, because ultimately that's why all of these athletes have chosen the high jump, because they really love it. I think there was a beautiful quote from Sang-Yek Woo yesterday, the South Korean, and he said, I live for the high jump. And that's really, really the embodiment of what all of these athletes are doing, is because they've chosen this, and the high jump in many ways has also chosen them.
Wu did actually surprise me at the press conference. You see him out on the arena floor, and I made the point to him that, you know, did he consider himself an indoor specialist? You know, it's a bit like somebody competing at 60 meters who can't quite do it at 100 meters, and you know, he has done so amazingly well at indoor competitions, and he takes so much from the audience. He encourages that audience, but he's a really shy young man, but his passion for the event itself, not winning, not medals, just his passion to be a high jumper, was just quite extraordinary. Oh,
and look, we've seen here Mo Farah, just as a casual visitor, just couldn't resist to pop in. I'm sure he will enjoy this competition now, kind of being more on the backseat and being able to enjoy some world-class athletics.
Well, here's an idea. So Mo Farah, the first of our celebrity high jump competition for 2027.
I remember, actually, I don't know whether you remember this, but there used to be a TV show in the UK that had some world-class athletes participating. I can't remember what it was called, something like Superstars, and Mo was actually one of them after 2012. I don't think they had a high jump in there, but I definitely remember him running the 100 meters and him saying afterwards, this is so much harder than I anticipated. So maybe we can motivate him along some of those legends, but let's try and focus on the athletes here on the field of play. We can see them lining up behind the big screens now. Beautiful sunset there behind the Qatar Amphitheatre.
So Mo Farah will not be the only famous person here, I can pretty much guarantee you that. We've spotted a few already, a couple turned up at the press conference. We won't give that away just yet. Hopefully we'll see some camera shots of them, see if you can recognize them. You see the locals also enjoying a photograph with Mo. still looks in pretty good nick, doesn't he?
He does. I think he had a running event here not too long ago, or might even be this weekend, so that's probably why he's in town. But I think, especially with runners, we were talking about this last night actually with a lot of, there we have one of the coaches and one of the big names, Yaroslav Barba there on the left. He is coaching one of the female jumpers and one of the male jumpers. He's coaching Michaela Hruba. Of course, Yaroslav Barba, the Olympic bronze medalist from 2004 in Athens. And I think a lot of these guys that have come out here to support the event, they're a bit gutted that they didn't have something like this. I mean, as we mentioned this, there are a few high jump meets around the world and a lot of them coming back. Another one, yeah, we did touch upon them. Kyriakos Ioannou from Cyprus won the silver medal in 2009 in Berlin at the World Championships, bronze in 2007 Osaka. So the greats really have turned out, and that's all part of this event, and I think that's what really makes this special, is Mutas's relationship with those who have come before him and those who will come after him, because he has managed, he's one of the few that really stays in close touch with a lot of the former jumpers, and that's why he makes an effort to bring them out here. And he wants to make sure that this next generation does the same. And I think he also wants to make sure that they don't forget about him and everything that he has done for the sport. So I think it's just such a beautiful way to connect past and present.
Certainly is. We have ticked a few minutes past the original start time, so don't worry, you're not missing anything. There's the great man himself. Perhaps he's on the phone to the timekeeper just to say, can we crack on, please? And I have to tell you, when Mutas says, can we start, you start.
One of the big things that he mentioned yesterday as well is the fact that actually it's really hard being a meet organizer. I mean, he goes normally to a meet and he will turn up and gets told, this is when you turn up, this is when you compete. Here, he needs to think about stuff, so it's actually really difficult.
I think it's really interesting when athletes actually see what happens behind the scenes. So many of them have so many great ideas when they're competing, and they take those to the governing body, asking about this, that and the other, and in many occasions, and on many occasions, the governing body will explain that that is not possible for logistical reasons, operational reasons. So it's really good that athletes like Bashim are getting a chance to see the logistical side, the organizational side, so that he can take the sport forward and grow some experience, get some more experience in how it actually physically works. Because sometimes that is very, very difficult indeed.
So as we wait for this women's competition to get underway, the great thing is that actually the temperatures dropped a little bit. It was a little windy the last few days, and that could have been quite challenging, and it was a bit of an issue last year for some of the high jumpers. But even though we can see the flags waving in the background, it does look like the wind is not as bad as we've had it the last few days, and hopefully as the night goes on it might subside a little bit more. And we can see the athletes, even though there's a slight delay, still having a great time, getting ready to go out there and jump. Now, seeing some of those few jumps being taken, and I think we have started. So it looks like we might have skipped the introduction and have gone straight into competition mode. That, of course, was the German that we saw there, and now next up is the Polish athlete. So I will go through the field as we're seeing them jumping now. First attempt we saw there from Christina Honsel, the German. And now also a clearance from the Polish athlete, Maria Zodzik. Next up, getting ready for her first jump, is Nadezhda Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan. She won the bronze medal in in Belgrade, excuse me, at the World Indoor Championships in 2022. Sadly misses her first attempt there, but again, there's been a little bit of a wait, so it might take a couple of jumps for the athletes to get going. And this is the young junior athlete that we talked about, Zoe Peacock of Australia, the 18-year-old talent that was chosen through her submission video. Clears here on her opening height, and I'm sure she'll be massively relieved to get that first jump over and done with. And now it's time to focus. Now it's time to take a deep breath, soak in the atmosphere as she was told by everyone around, and really enjoy jumping here alongside some of the world's best athlete. Now, second attempt for Nadezhda Dubovitskaya, the Kazakh athlete, with 175. And she goes clear again, that first one, just a little blip. She'll be slightly annoyed about that, but we'll forget about that when the next height comes. So clearance for her as well. First few athletes all clear at this opening height of 175. And there again on the screen, Zoe Peacock, we see. I'm really intrigued to see what this youngster can do, because again, she jumped a personal best or a lifetime best of 184 this year already. So maybe good conditions here can push her. We'll see more. One of the great things that we talked about yesterday, and we'll touch on that quite a few more times, I think, this evening, is just hearing about the athletes, where they see their strengths and weaknesses. And that's something that was came up yesterday in the press conference. And we asked the athletes what they think their strengths are, which other athletes, other strength they might want to pick. And there were some really, really interesting answers from some of them, who inspired them, what they've picked from someone. Yuliya Levchenko there, Ukrainian, we see on the screen now, won the silver medal back in 2017 in London at the World Championships.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second edition of What Gravity Challenge.
Waiting there for her jump. She was one of the athletes I talked to yesterday and spoke with her about, again, what's her strength. And she said consistency is something that she really values. And when we talked about which jumper she could pick something from, she said, might be an obvious choice, but Blanka Vlasic. And she said the interesting thing about Blanka is the fact that her high jump technique is very different from a lot of other athletes. But what made her so great is the fact that she was so consistent in her own style, and she would turn up and she would always get it spot on, and that's why she was so great. So that's Yuliya Levchenko's inspiration. Motioning someone there, but now also about to get underway with her first jump. Andy, what do you think?
Well, a nice clearance there for Levchenko bar now at 1 meter 80. Nice replay there of that clearance by the World Championship silver medalist back in 2017. Honsel up next of Germany. It's a first-time failure then for the 27-year-old German. Still, of course, very much in the early stages of this competition. Athletes just fine-tuning this run-up. Always different, of course, when you're running up on a raised platform. It doesn't have that sort of complete seated firmness, perhaps, of a track run-up. So it's always interesting to see how exactly the surface responds to the way you run on it.
Absolutely, but we were talking about this actually yesterday as we take a look at Maria Zodzik, the Polish athlete, clearing her first attempt at 180. And this track is a Mondo track. It is the same track they used in Paris at the Olympics. The athletes really liked it. And if you look at this, you mentioned the raised runway, you can compare it to the indoors. It's kind of like that swing floor. Obviously, there's regulations in terms of the way the bounce of the floor itself, but the athletes actually really like it.
This is Onnen of Germany. She too goes clear at 1 meter 80.
Imke Onnen, of course, comes from a very athletic family. Her brother, Imke, won the bronze medal at the European Championships in 2016 in Amsterdam, coached by her mum, Astrid Fredebold Onnen. She also coached her brother, so really a family affair for them.
Well, one of my favourite sporting families is taking part in the men's competition. We'll come on to that in just a second as we wait for Hruba to take her attempt at 1 meter 80. The 27-year-old Czech. And those with long memories will remember her winning the World Under-20 Championship back in 2016, and she too goes clear at 1 meter 80. Yes, the family I'm referring to is the Stark family. Brandon Stark, of course, high jumper extraordinaire, Commonwealth medalist, very, very talented young man. And I have a love-hate relationship with his brother, who unfortunately plays Test cricket for Australia. So when he's playing Test cricket for Aussies, for the Australians, I'm not his biggest fan, but when he's not, I'm rather keen on him. It must be amazing to be the Stark parents, mustn't it?
Absolutely.
One international athlete, one international cricketer. That's not bad breeding.
Not bad at all. Next up, we see Nadezhda Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan again. She's found a groove now after that slight blip there at the start. Confident now over that 180 as well.
We don't have access to a CIS up here, the commentator information system that is often found around the ground. So we don't quite know what height Mahuchikh's going to come in. Would you like to have any guesses on that, Michelle? I'm going to put you on the spot. What
are putting me on the spot. I mean, it depends because they have been waiting a bit, so she might be a little anxious. She might want to get in at least at 85.
Here's Peacock then. What a day it must be for this young lady. Oh! So, not to be. That's her first failure. She will go and speak to those who must be obeyed. Of course, athletics, one of those sports that allows coaching. Some do, some don't.
And she's actually coached by her dad as well, so he's here with her. That'll give her some extra confidence. I did say Yaroslava might not be bringing her sleeping bag, but it looks like she's got it with her. And here's second attempt for Christina Honsel at 180. And the German goes clear at that height as well.
Currently puts it in 6th position in this What Gravity Challenge high jump competition. The sun has pretty much gone now as one of the Qatar Airways jets flies overhead as Honsel flies over 1.80 meters.
Oh, amazing there from the youngster, Zoe Peacock.
She didn't mess around there, did she? She did not take the amount of time I was expecting her to take. A quick word with Dad. She's back on the runway and she's over 180. And if they continue with these progressions, I'm pretty certain that 185 will be next, and that will be a lifetime best. That would be extraordinary.
And she's literally just come off a plane just over less than 48 hours ago, so that's pretty impressive for someone to have the mental strength.
So I think that completes our round at 180. Bar just being measured out of shot there, going to 185.
And the fact that we're starting with Yuliya Levchenko makes me think that actually Yaroslava Mahuchikh also won't enter at this height, because I think she will be starting the progression round. So Yaroslava still taking it easy, still resting up, and the first athlete we see getting ready for her first attempt at 185 is Yuliya Levchenko.
Well, I can exclusively reveal, Michelle, that I did go for a dip last night quite late, and when the sun goes down and the breeze comes up, strangely it isn't quite as warm as you think it is, so perhaps that is the reason for the sleeping bag. As in comes Levchenko, attacks the bar, and she clears 1.85 meters, and that will put her into first place.
There we see the replay. And again, very powerful there in her takeoff. It was interesting yesterday when the athletes came for practice.
Just pause for a second as Honsel comes in, and she, as you say, she's found her groove, hasn't she? Nice clearance there at 180, nice clearance now at 185. Second place as we watch the side on replay. Nicely done by the 27-year-old German. Lifetime best of 198, set a couple of years ago now.
I'll pick up the talk about the facility and training later, because we've got the next athlete with her competition entry. That is Charity Hufnagel of the US, 23-year-old, so one of the youngest, second, third youngest in the field. A heptathlete, turned high jumper, jumped at the opportunity to compete here in Doha at the World Gravity Challenge.
Oh, she rattled that. And I'm not quite sure how that stayed on.
I think she isn't quite sure either, but either way, she goes over the bar. From the University of Kentucky, lives and trains over in Kentucky. And again, just coming out of that NCAA system, she's really keen to get those international competitions under her belt. She's really excited again to be around the other girls.
Another nice clearance, this time from Zodzik of Hungary.
Poland.
Poland, sorry, my apologies.
So 3 times the national indoor champion. First time clearance for her as well, so clean slate for the Polish athlete. She's got a personal best of 198, and there's the next athlete entering at this 185, Morgan Lake.
Definitely from GBR. And Morgan Lake opens her competition with a nice clearance at 185. That will put her into the joint lead.
And ironically, or not ironically, but interestingly, another athlete that started out as a heptathlete and then found her groove in the high jump. Again, of course, she was one of those athletes that back in 2014 at the World Under-20 Championships won gold in both the heptathlon and the high jump. So very, very talented junior athlete. It's taken a while to get back into the swing of things. And next up here with her first attempt at 185 is Imke Onnen of Germany.
Well, close for the German.
It's just her feet there, I think.
Just
Let's
a little
wait for the
tickle at the
replay.
end. So she'll have to come back for second attempt. Just in case you're joining us and you're not a high jump aficionado, rules are pretty simple. You get 3 attempts to clear a height. If you don't do that, you are eliminated from the competition, but you don't have to take all 3 attempts at the same height. You can pass, move on to another height, but if you pass after, for example, 1 failure, then you only get 2 attempts at the next height. So you must make a clearance within 3 jumps.
And next up, we've got Zoe Peacock of Australia again. And
So
this is what I love to see, because the youngster really is getting behind it here, really animating the crowd. I mean, when do you ever have the opportunity to really get people going like this? And again, this would be a lifetime best for her. So not to be in this first attempt for Zoe Peacock, but the 18-year-old with 180 under her belt. I'm sure she'll be pretty happy with that already, but let's see what she can do in her next round.
Just watching her strut back to her place of rest, she looks pretty at home on this stage. I mean, she's not wide-eyed and like a rabbit in the headlights. She looks like she's taken it, but I think you're absolutely right, Michelle, what you said earlier. The other 10 girls have really taken to her, really put her under their wing. And I imagine she would have been feeling pretty nervous at the beginning. However, not as nervous as she would have been without that love and kind attention.
Absolutely. I think that makes a big, big difference. And again, just being here, getting a sense for the facility yesterday made all the difference for her. Now, first up at 185 for Michaela Hruba of the Czech Republic. Again, you talked about her successes at the under 18 and under 20 level. Again, a world-class coach with Yaroslava Mahuchikh behind her. Czech high jump really, really coming back through, because in the men's side we've got Jan Stefala as well. But let's see what Michaela Hruba can do. Over 180.
Looked like there's too much of a challenge for the Hungarian. Pretty decent triple jumper as well, I think. 13:30 in bits. 6-meter long jumper. Going back to what you were saying earlier about how multi-eventers seem to do pretty well in one event. Of course, in the multi-event, being a specialist, you know, can make an awful lot of difference. You can make up so many points by being well clear of the rest of the field. It's just a bit of a pain. You've got to do the other 9 events as well.
Absolutely. But it's only one event here. And Nadezhda Dubovitskaya, as her friends call her, with her first attempt at 185. Again, she's easily got the height. It's just there at the end with a flick off the shoe.
Just seemed to travel a little bit to the left there as well. Quite close to the upright by the time she hit the mat there. So that would have taken a little bit of her impetus away. But she will be back, of course. Now, is that not the personification of coolness? Here I am. I've done everything there is to do, so I'm just going to have a little nap in my sleeping bag. Dream of conquering the Himalayas is my next project. I've got the sleeping bag, might as well do that.
I mean, she's used to heights, so
Yeah.
Imke Onnen, the German, with her second attempt at 185.
That was very good, I saw what you did there. So not to be for the German. Here's the replay then. Let's see if we can analyse.
Didn't look quite smooth with her run up there. She was going around the bend.
Never had the height in that one. That one wasn't particularly close.
She's got one more attempt. She will be going over to her mum, her coach, Astrid. And there we've got the man without whom none of this would be possible.
Indeed, and the man closest to the camera there, Mohammed Al-Fadala, is the president of the Qatari Athletic Federation. Mr. Sports here in Qatar. Nothing much happens sporting-wise without Mohammed's investment and enthusiasm. Very, very good for the sporting world in this part of the world. Right, come on, young Zoe, 18 years of age. Big event for her. At home on Wednesday, she's in Doha tonight. Zoe Peacock. Oh.
So close.
Great attempt. Great attempt.
Pretty big ask this, of course. You know, she's had a couple of jumps, and the third height is a lifetime best. It wouldn't normally be like that for her in competition. She's in with, I was going to say the big boys. That would be the wrong thing to say. She's in with the cream of the cream here.
And again now, as we're going through these last round attempts, those jumps are coming through thick and fast. So Imke Onnen there having to really quickly refocus.
Well, again, this is one of the things about having a standalone event. You don't have to wait for an introduction for a track race to take place. You haven't got to wait for a javelin to land or somebody to go into the discus net. This is it, and this shows you how quickly this sport can go.
Oh, there we go. You can see the sense of relief there. She's like, let's go. I needed this. I knew I could do it.
Third time clearances are always better. Just keeping the audience in suspense gives the athlete so much confidence. Immediately you see a smile on the face, and that was actually a very good jump. She had a decent amount of height there. Again, back of the ankles were a little bit close at the end, but plenty of height of the torso. It's catching this laying down bit, isn't it?
It really is.
Thinking about it myself, actually.
Do you want me to get you one of those carpets from down there? Next up, Dubovitskaya with her second attempt at 185.
Closer. Again, just a bit of travel at the end for me.
I wonder whether we missed her in the previous round, because we've had 3 attempts, I believe, from Imke Onnen. This one is only her second attempt, so...
The vagaries of judging the high jump. Morgan Lake there in the, what would that be, burgundy t-shirt? Pink, burgundy pink mix?
I think pink is dark lavender.
Okay, my mother always told me I was desperately poor at colours.
And now, last attempt for Zoe Peacock, 18-year-old Australian, won her spot in this competition. Can she clear a lifetime best?
Oh! Well, not to be, but I think I'm pretty safe to say that she's going to remember this for a very long time. She's got 10 new mates on her iPhone contacts. They just happen to be 10 of the best high jumpers in the world. What an experience. It's a brilliant idea by Barshim. I know it was probably a little bit of a rush to get her here, but so worth it. The fact that she could bring coach and dad with her as well probably just made it all the better.
I could see him talk to a lot of the coaches here already as well, so I'm pretty sure both of them will be taking quite a bit from this competition away with them.
Well, you may be right about one of the athletes going slightly out of order, because Dubovitskaya is back for her third attempt at 185. And looking for a bit of a support from the crowd here, which is beginning to fill up. See, a little bit busier than it was a little earlier. Don't forget, of course, we've still got the men's competition to come. Dubovitskaya clear. So nicely done. And again, another third round clearance, this time by the Kazakh.
A lot of height there from her over the bar. So again, it's just about getting the jump exactly right. And I think Mutas, it was Mutas who said yesterday when talking about strength.
Absolutely fascinating, wasn't it?
He said his takeoff is his strength. And he said, if I get my takeoff right, no one's going to beat me. And I think having that confidence, knowing that, I think it's really interesting. I think it applies to a lot of athletes. I think a lot of them, if they know they're hitting it, it's that's when things get really go really right.
Indeed, I think the worrying thing for all the other athletes was the way he said it. If I get my takeoff right, I'm going to win. And it wasn't a statement of hope. It was a statement of fact as far as he is concerned.
And now we've got her. We've got her in the specific, the golden Olympic champion kit. We've seen it already on the circuit a few times this year. The likes of Mondo Duplantis rocking the gold. And of course, she, not only the Olympic champion in the high jump, but also the world record holder. Broke that long-standing record last year in Paris at the Diamond League, 2 meters and 10. So her opening height of 190 should be a walk in the park for her.
Let's hope so. Mahuchikh in, attacks the bar. Oh my goodness me. Yes, that was Mondo-esque. So no wonder she's wearing the same kind of clothing. Both, I think, sponsored by Red Bull, amongst others. But let's just look at a true champion of her sport in action.
And it's actually really interesting, and again shows the attention to detail with regards to the athletes, because actually the whole mat or the bed that they're landing on yesterday at training was moved slightly to accommodate Yaroslava, because she has modeled her run up on Muchas Barshim. We'll get back to that after the next jump.
Levchenko, and she joins Mahuchikh, clear at 1 meter 90, goes into a share of the lead.
So Yaroslava Mahuchikh said she's modeled her run up on Muchas Barshim, and she has a really extensive bend and takes off quite far away from the bar. And actually, she would have been too far out on the runway yesterday. So moved the bed. And on the other side of the runway, we've got Christina Honsel, the German, at 1 meters 90.
Oh. So that's her first failure for a time. Replays coming in nice and sharpish here on the World Feed broadcast. I do hope you're enjoying it. Andy Kay and Michelle Zamet with you here in Doha, wherever you're watching in the world. The What Gravity Challenge coming to you live from the Qatar Amphitheatre, where the wind has also noticeably dropped. The flags were flying very proudly when we got here, but they're not at the moment, so conditions potentially getting better as we watch Eleanor Patterson.
And also very, very easy for the world champion from 2022, for the Australian. And she's certainly one of the headlining acts here. She was here watching the event last year, and she was gutted that they didn't have a women's high jump. So I think she was the first sign-up that they had for this women's
I imagine being an Australian, she was pretty shy and retiring about that, was she?
But yeah, she looks pretty happy with that opening height.
So Hufnagel will be next. This will be the highlight of her day, although I'm being told that the second highlight of her day was having breakfast with you, Michelle. But she looks like she's recovered from that experience. So, the bar at 190. '23-year-old American. Have to come back and revisit that. That one not particularly close, and I think she knows that. She came off the mat just gesticulating to her coach that knew she got that one a little bit wrong. But she won't have to wait too long for a second attempt. This competition is rattling along at a pretty decent pace. The other thing about being at one of these high jump competitions is it's quite nice not being the tallest person in the hotel.
That is not a problem that I normally have, Andy. But let's take a look at Maria Zodzik, the Polish athlete.
Well, that was close as well, but that one just knocked off the heels, I think, by the pole. So that's her first failure at 1 meter 90. Currently ranked in 4th place in this competition.
Hasn't jumped too much yet this year.
That's one of the interesting things I noticed on the press conference biographies yesterday, a lot of the athletes have done quite a lot. The others have not done that much at all as we look at Morgan Lake.
And she's done a lot. She's already done a full-on indoor season and taken it straight out to the outdoors. 190 for Morgan Lake, first attempt.
Oh, nicely done by the Brits.
And really interestingly, she's made some coaching changes. She's moved out to Sweden, now coached by Yannick Trigaro, of course, famous coaching his now ex-wife Emma Green Trigaro, two international successes, and it's really starting to show dividends here, and pretty good clearance there at 190 for Morgan.
Always had the thought about Morgan that she's very much a confidence jumper. If she's feeling it, she's right up there with the best of them. She's always there or thereabouts in the mix. This is Onnen now of Germany. Oh yes, big clearance, big shout, big cheer from the German. Pleased with that one. Very smooth indeed, very smooth.
It's great. Prepare for the noise in a minute because we can hear some cheers for the local hero. we might have some kids sitting with us in a minute.
Yes, we are very nicely positioned, about 2 inches in front of a gaggle of school kids who are enjoying themselves here, as we hope you are too, and the audience live with us in the Qatar Amphitheatre. This, the What Gravity Challenge, standalone high jump event, women's event first. Then the men will turn up, they'll warm up, and they'll be jumping a little bit later. Jumping right now, Michaela Hruba. Bar at 190, looking for more from the crowd. This place beginning to warm up, bubbling along very nicely indeed. So, Hruba brings the bar down. First attempt at 190 is a failure. She will be coming back.
And really interestingly, they have one of these wind measurer flags in the middle, and it looks pretty calm, but up here we can sense and we can see the flags waving quite a bit. So the run-ups for these athletes, there we can see it now on the screen. The athletes really having to adapt to the conditions here and adjust their run-ups accordingly. As we take a look at Nadezhda Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan, she's taken quite a few jumps already. Started early on at the opening height and has had a few failures as well, but still going strong.
Of course, some of the athletes prefer it. Some like to get in the groove and like to be jumping regularly. Others you'll see coming in late, then they may pass a height. You know, high jumps have been won after 3 jumps. But Nadezhda is somebody, I think, who likes to keep busy, likes to keep active. Looking for a season's best of 190, and not on this particular occasion.
Has a personal best of 2 meters though, and I think that's the impressive thing. If you look at the strength of this field, there are 4 athletes that have cleared 2 meters already, and several that have come very, very close.
Yeah, there's no doubt about the quality of the athletes we've got here in both the women's and men's competition. Still going to have to debate you about the colour of Morgan Lake's shirt there, by the way. This is going to be the big talking point of the evening. We'll get back to that as we watch Christina Honsel, second attempt. And she'll have to come back for a third.
And again, she's one of those athletes that's already had quite a few jumps on her belt. Quite a few of these women taking on post-Nanjing the Chinese Diamond League. So she, Eleanor Patterson, Yaroslava Mahuchikh, a lot of these athletes all jumping in China already and then coming straight here. So a lot of these girls have spent several weeks together already. Charity Hufnagel, hasn't yet. So still one of the young ones. Competed in Nanjing, of course, at the World Indoor Championships. That was her first big international outing. Can she get over the 190?
You're absolutely right, Michelle. It was their only outing outside of the States this year so far. But it seems to have done her the world of good because she goes clear.
And she said something really interesting yesterday about her strength, and she said she thinks it's the speed and the power that she has from the heptathlon. And she says, even if my technique isn't spot on, even if I don't get the takeoff quite right, as Muta says, I've got the strength from the heptathlon, and I can push myself over that. And I think that was a good example of that.
Well, she was very pleased with that. So that gives you a mark of what it meant to her. Zodzik. And clear as well. Thank you very much indeed. That will do nicely. Second attempt. Puts her into 6th position. Here's the replay for you. And a decent amount of air between her and the bar.
Yeah, I'm genuinely intrigued, considering how many athletes have already cleared and how many athletes are still in this competition, how far we can go.
Yeah, going to be interesting because a lot of them have got some pretty decent attempts under their belt in other events, as you mentioned a little earlier. It looks like quite a few of them have brought that that level of success to Doha.
As we take a look at the second attempt from the Czech athlete, from Michaela Hruba, the outstanding junior performer back in the day. I'm saying back in the day, it's not that long ago. She's only 27. Shouldn't watch my language here.
Please don't say back in the day when you're commentating with a 61-year-old. Oh, gave it a tickle, but over. Well, good for her. Has jumped 195, I think, in the past. It's a season's best. 195 was quite a few years ago, but nicely over 190. Just the faintest of touches. That bar was never coming down, and she will be in 10th position as she continues through this competition.
And it's interesting because, of course, it's early May, but it's a very long season. We've still got the World Championships all the way in September to come. So these athletes really have to pace themselves throughout the year to peak at the highest point. And as I said, it's great for them to get to take on these competitions and enjoy.
Dubovitskaya. No. Oh, she's very close to that upright. She does travel a long way from the takeoff to the landing.
And again, those are the very, very different techniques we are seeing, and what they were talking about yesterday, what they're choosing to learn from each other as well. I think high jumpers are one of those event groups that really loves to study other jumpers. I mean, they go back, they find the old YouTube clips, study the grades.
Well, that came up in the press conference, and my co-commentator Michelle asked the question of the day, which is, what are your strengths and what would you like to borrow from another high jumper that you really, really rate? And we went across the whole table and got some fantastic answers as we watch Christina Honsel. This is make or break, and it's make! Whoa! Thank you very much indeed.
She needs the pressure sometimes, doesn't she? She had it early as well.
Yeah.
It gets boring otherwise, doesn't
Looks
it?
a little bit out of sorts early doors, but thank you. That was very nice indeed. Here's the replay. Let's have a look at this. Yes, that's a very nice time clearance. Decent amount of height. Get her feet out of the way. Yep, that'll do. And she will continue on her way. And just hearing that Dubovitskaya is going to pass at 1.90 m, her third attempt. So again, just to let you know,
I don't think
she
she
seems
is.
to be
I
out
think
on the
she's
runway.
ready to get going.
She was going to pass, and now she's not going to pass. Let's hope she can clear. Reminder, this would be for a season's best. Come on, Nadezhda. 1.90 m. Oh, she had the height. She had the height. She knows it. Never mind. She will exit the competition ranked in 10th position. And still smiling, that's the main thing.
But again, so far only done one competition really early on in the year. So this really is her first big outing of the year. So at least get that under her belt.
And while we look at the venue from the drone shot out above the sea, let's just go back to the point you were making earlier, Michelle, about the season being as long as it is. My personal opinion is I think the World Championships should be the culmination of the season, just as the World Cup is the culmination of the football season. But what it does do, it does mean the season is stretched. I personally also think it gives the athletes more of a choice, as opposed to having to pack it all in. They can potentially look at events and go, I'm going to do this. And you, as you said earlier, you know, you've had athletes that have gone to Nanjing and stayed in Asia, stayed for the 2 Diamond Leagues, and now they're making their way to other parts of the world. So it's going to be a very interesting season to see which athletes can cope, who have that longevity, and those who find it a bit too much of a grind.
Yes, exactly. As the bar now goes up to 194, we see the officials getting ready. We've got Yaroslava Mahuchikh on the runway with just her 2nd jump. I feel like she's been around for ages. But as you said there, the length of the season, we've heard from quite a few of the athletes who are going to take almost a month in between in the summer to go back to training, really go back to basics, work on the little tweaks that they now find out that they might need to work on, and then come back for the second half of the season. But this woman, I don't think she ever takes a break, and she always delivers.
Pretty busy, 23-year-old Ukrainian, every major title under her belt and the world record. Did give it a little clip, but that's a timing issue because she was way over the top of that one. And Mahuchikh is ranked 1st. Not a position she is unfamiliar with.
And there you can see in the replay really closely how far out her run-up is and how much she leans into that bend. But that's exactly the reason why they actually had to move the bed over to the left-hand side, because otherwise she would have not managed to fully use that space that is available to her. So great job from the team around Mutas there to have made those adjustments to really accommodate for her. And next up on the runway is her fellow Ukrainian, Yuliya Levchenko. Has a season's best of 192, so this would also be a season's best for her, clearing this 194.
Oh, yes. Double success for Ukraine in a matter of minutes. She goes into a joint share of the lead. One of the things you can do if you're watching at home is what Michelle was alluding to, the different styles, but not just that, the distance from the bar that they take off. Some are miles away. I mean, Barshim's in United Arab Emirates when he jumps. He's so far away. Others are so desperately close to it, you wonder how they get the elevation in the time they've got as Honsel approaches. Oh, very close for the German.
But this is part of the allure of the high jump, isn't it? Can the athletes keep their wits about them, stay mentally strong, and come back after a failure like this? And she's clearly proven so far that absolutely calm and collected, lines up again.
Well, the bar's got higher, the volume of the music's got higher. It is rocking here at the Qatari amphitheatre. Here's Eleanor Patterson, 28-year-old Aussie, world champion back in 2022, and the bar comes down. I won't mention that she's wearing colours of England because Australians don't like to be reminded that red and white is English.
Oh, you English, always going on about yourselves. No, but of course she's had a great start to the season, got a silver medal out in Nanjing, and she was one of those athletes that did the full-on Chinese circuit. I think the beautiful thing about it as well, if you look at social media, is how much these athletes have enjoyed themselves out there as well. They've enjoyed the cities, they've gone out for coffees, they've gone out for meals. getting to know each other. And again, it helps being in the same environment and kind of benefiting from one another. As we take a look at Charity Hufnagel, really her, I'd say, first big professional meet outside of a championships.
Pretty much. And 194 will equal her personal best set in Eugene, Oregon in June of last year. So we're getting to her upper limits, quite literally. It was interesting to hear her views on athletics generally this morning as we were enjoying a bit of breakfast. Talking about the World Athletics Ultimate Championships, amongst other things. That's a story for another day as the American approaches the bar and brings it down close. She knows she was close. She'll come back for 2 more attempts.
But what was really beautiful here, and this is also one of the great things about these high jump meetings, is that athletes could actually submit songs earlier on that would be played. And you could tell, as she was standing there getting ready for her run-up, she was waiting for one particular moment in the song to really uplift her. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this song is about soaring. So if that isn't fitting, then I don't know what is.
That will be your question for the evening, and I'll have a think as well. What song would you having played if you were out there, Michelle, with your statuesque frame doing the high jump? I'd be going Foo Fighters' Learn to Fly.
It's the obvious choice, isn't it? As we look at Maria Wojcik, the Polish jumper. Didn't quite get the height there.
No, not to be for the two-time national champion.
Again, I think it looks like she's done a couple of meets indoors early on, but this is really her first outdoor meet. Didn't do world indoors. So really very much just starting this long season for the pole.
Even for a novice such as myself, there must be a distinct difference between those indoor competitions and the outside. I mean, indoor is pretty much perfect conditions, isn't it, really? I mean,
and again,
heating controlled, no wind. Here you've got a few more things to contend with. Morgan Lake on the runway, the next one who will try and contend with those conditions. You can see the flags just fluttering gently in the background, and Morgan Lake, nice clearance at 194. That will take her into a share of the lead.
Very good. She'll be very happy with that. I think that equals her season's best. Jumped well in Birmingham indoors, actually. Had a couple of decent attempts, 192 in Xiamen, 191 out in Shaoxing, Kekwai. And she's already got a few jumps under her belt as well. Imke Onnen, German talent.
First time failure for Onnen of Germany. So the full lighting effects beginning to take over here at the Qatari Amphitheatre. Spotlights beginning to streak out into the sky. Really has quite a unique feeling, this venue and this event. Zoe Peacock watching on, her day's work is done.
Next up is Michaela Hruba. Again, jumped quite a bit indoors. Jumped in Apeldoorn at the European Indoor Championships. Took on the full high jump circuit indoors, but this, her first outdoor outing for the athlete, born in Boritov.
And big shout out to Apeldoorn and the organisers of tremendous championships. Again, quite a strange venue because it had a velodrome around the outside. Oh, yes. Oh. That will do very nicely, thank you.
Oh, the look of relief on her face there. I mean, she already set a big season's best there earlier with the 194, but with the 190, but 194 in the first time clearance. Absolutely delighted with that, and I could see her coach, of course, Yaroslav Baba, also being pretty happy with his athlete there. Gets a hug.
Quite noticeable, isn't it, how many high jumpers stay in the sport? There's so many coaches of other disciplines who perhaps never made it to the top.
And look how much it means to her. I think this really shows.
Let's see if Honsel can join her. And the answer's no, I'm afraid. So that's a second time failure for the German. She'll be back for a third attempt. Look at those pictures.
I think what is really important to remember is with athletes like Michaela Hruba, who deliver so well at such a young age.
Well, you've got to remember that she's only, what, 1 centimetre off her lifetime best, and that was set 9 years ago.
Yeah. And she's had some injury problems. She's really been through it all. So for her to really now, in a World Championship year, in a setting like this, to start to get back into the shape that she knows she's got. I think this is the tough thing for a lot of athletes. They know they've got it in them. And sometimes your body just don't want to come along. And I think Eleanor Patterson, another one of those athletes, she's had surgery, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of last year or the year before. Having to battle back and knowing something like an Olympics only comes around every 4 years, getting it right on the day, just sometimes it doesn't work out, and then we see gaps where athletes just haven't delivered. But she, of course, in the last few years, been one of the very consistent athletes, but here, a failure for her.
And you're absolutely right, Michelle, because so many of these athletes have targeted the World Championships in Tokyo, because although everybody did an extraordinary job getting the Olympics on there, it was, of course, the COVID Olympics, and jumping in front of an empty stadium is never going to be the same. Now, of course, it didn't affect some other people like Carsten Warholm, who shot out and broke the world record. But, you know, a full stadium in Tokyo is going to be a very uplifting sight for many people who worked so hard on those Olympics. They're going to get a second chance, so are the athletes. So you can understand why so many of them are focusing on that event.
Speaking of second chance for Charity Hufnagel at 194.
Thank you to Michelle Segway-Zammit there. So 194 is the height, Hufnagel the jumper, and failure is the answer, I'm afraid, on that one. So she'll come back again. Well, I assume she do. She may pass, of course. Come back in at another height. We'll find out. Quite within her right. Replay of that latest jump. Not the worst attempt.
No, it really wasn't. But again, long travel for those coming from over in America and South America. And a few travel delays for a few of them as well. I think there were quite some tough weather out on the East Coast. We've had a few delays, especially on the men's side as well. She didn't have too long of a journey getting here. Maria Zodzik. She's got it.
She certainly has. That's the second time clearance for the pole.
Quite fitting again, the song choice. I like it when that works out.
They don't just throw this together, you know. So smiles all round then for quite a number of these jumpers at 1m94. Onnen of Germany will be next to go. This will be her second attempt. 30 years of age now. Lifetime best was 196, so she's not a million miles away, but unfortunately she's going to have to come back for a third attempt at 194 here in Doha. So it's make or break for Christina Honsel now. Third attempt at 1m94 for the German Olympic Game finalist. currently ranked 7th in the world. Oh, well, she nearly made it. She nearly made it. But that's 3 and out for Christina, and she will spend the rest of the competition laying out on her gloriously arranged Arabic rug.
But again, she's one of those athletes that's been out in China, already 2 Diamond Leagues under her belt. So good opportunity for her to just kind of keep that momentum going and then go back. And again, another athlete that's been out on the road quite successfully, if I may say, with her 3rd attempt at 194 is the world champion from 2022, Eleanor Patterson.
Yes. Thank you very much. 3rd time clearance for Eleanor, who will rank her 6th in this competition.
And I love watching her facial expressions.
Oh.
It's just, you know, like she's quite a smiley, happy person, but when she's in competition mode, she switches a switch and she knows she could do it. And just her reaction there, it's the, I know I can do it. Why didn't I do it in the first 2 attempts? Okay, on to the next height we go.
Well, it's a typical Aussie trait, isn't it? Complete and utter confidence in your own ability and the ability of those around you. So anyway, I'm delighted she's maintained her position in this competition. I'd like it if Hufnagel could do the same. So this is her 3rd attempt then. We are really beginning to, and forgive the pun, fly here in Doha.
Equal to her personal best as well.
Absolutely.
And there's Karen Locke, her manager, clearly over the moon.
Now, she is one of the characters of the sport. I was assaulted at dinner last night. Lovely to see her. I haven't seen her for a couple of years. Yeah, a more enthusiastic person regarding athletics you will not find. And Hufnagel pretty enthusiastic about this one. Decent clearance in the end, actually, to be fair.
Exactly. If you think about the fact that this is her lifetime best, there's definitely a little bit more room, and clearly thriving up the atmosphere, thriving up all eyes being on her.
Well, I would say there's definitely a couple of centimetres there, which is convenient, as the next height is 196, as Onnen brings the bar down, and that means she will exit the competition in 8th place for the journal.
Yeah, not to be for Imke Onnen. Same height as her fellow German, Christina Honsel. They bow out. And the bar goes up. There's the standings at 194. 7 athletes over this height. 4 we've lost.
Just to quickly move back to Imke Onnen for a second. I'm sure people watching this at home will think that the life of an international athlete is one of jet travel and lovely hotels and very sort of interesting life. Well, I saw her coach when I arrived at the hotel, and she'd obviously travelled a decent distance, and her room wasn't ready. So she decided to move up to the 5th floor, which is quite quiet, and was curled up in an armchair, trying to get some kip. Now, this is becoming a bit of a trait in women's high jump. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, didn't we, about note-taking.
Yes, journaling, a mindfulness exercise. Nicola Olislag is, of course, the most famous journaler there is. How do you call someone who journals? And Charity Hufnagel, maybe taking some inspiration from her there. It clearly worked indoors at the World Indoors for Nicola.
Absolutely.
So why not join her?
And I hope it's interesting stuff. I really hope that we don't get to see her journals as Levchenko prepares to go and it's just no for a failure and yes for a clearance. That would be disappointing.
Yuliya Levchenko.
Sorry, Michelle. We're at 196. One of the current co-leaders of the competition, Levchenko of Ukraine. She'll have to come back again.
And with Yuliya jumping here at 196, it makes me think that given that the bar is now moving up 2 centimeters at a time, I think Yaroslava Mahuchikh actually is passing this height and will probably rejoin us at 198.
She's back at base camp in the sleeping bag. So it was a third-time clearance for Eleanor Patterson of Australia at the last height of 194. I wonder what she can do at 196. Looked confident on that third attempt. Looked like she was psyching herself into that successful 194 clearance. Comes bouncing into 196 and clears it first time. And this is the vagary of high jumping. You struggle at 194, you scramble over it, and the next height you clear at a canter.
And again, it goes back to the consistency. If you can be consistent in your own technique and own run-up, you can save yourself a lot of hassle. But the minute that you start to sway from it, that's when it gets tricky. But clearly, almost muscle memory, probably having just jumped there and got a really good jump in. Just does exactly the same at the next height. And takes on the 196.
So this is for a lifetime best, Christy Hufnagel at 196. Oh, that was close. It was close, and she knows it was close. Big smile as she comes off the mat, even though she took the bar down. I'd love to see her get this lifetime best. There are a couple of others who are getting close as well. So this is turning out to be rather a high-quality event, as we thought it would be, but of course there's no guarantees in sport. Otherwise we'd all be millionaires because we'd know the answers. Got that one all wrong, I'm afraid, did the Polish girl, and she'll come back for a second attempt at this height of 196. Currently ranked in 6th position. Interesting what we were talking about technique earlier as well, because one of the high jump coaches and us two were discussing the long jump, and he was quite adamant in the fact that you can teach an athlete to hit the long jump board, and if they can't hit the long jump board, it's either the coach's fault first or the athlete's fault second. An interesting take on the long jump, which in itself is going through transition at the moment. Again, a story for another day.
I'm a big fan of this little girl's socks. Did you see that? Great style there.
Well, I'm a great fan of this young lady, Morgan Lake. The poor girl had to sit with me for 11 hours on a plane once. I'm surprised she's still in the sport, but she's a delightful young lady, and she is looking to clear 196 for the first time of asking, and she'll have to come back for the second time of asking. That's, I think, her first failure of the competition.
Which again, not a big problem. She'll go and reset, she'll talk to her coach. Interestingly, not quite a famous athlete himself, but if I understood yesterday at dinner correctly, I think he's cleared over 2 meters and 10. So definitely some knowledge there on his side. Of course, coached other famous Swedish athletes, and now Morgan out being coached by Yannick Chigaro, and she's got a even more successful coach in her corner. Michaela Hruba took on quite a few of the famous indoor high jump meets: Pustopetche, Lyon, Banska Bystrica, all big meccas of high jump, but very, very close to her personal best. But not in this first attempt at 196.
Very, very emotional, after clearing 1m94.
This would be a personal best.
It would
again,
indeed,
you touched upon it.
I think I mentioned it was, what, back in 2016?
Yeah, 195 at home in Prague. Can she add a centimeter to that best? I mean, she looked great in that earlier attempt.
Did indeed. I'm hoping that the emotion didn't take too much out of her. I'm sure it did. That's Zoe Peacock's dad, by the way, to the left, just sitting above his daughter, talking to Faz Ahmed, another high jump coach of note. Levchenko coming back for her second attempt at 1m96. You were dead right, Ms. Zamet. We are not seeing Mahuchikh at this height, so just one Ukrainian looking to clear 196. Ooh.
She did start fairly early on in the competition, so again, this might also now be a little bit of tiredness coming in here as the bar goes up.
Well, she jumped once in Ukraine before making the move out to Asia in those 2 Diamond League meetings. But as we were discussing a little bit earlier, they're long old flights to China. There's no easy way to get there, but you know, it's going to take you 14, 15 hours, come what may. But at least they had a little bit of downtime in between those 2 meets, and some pretty impressive training venues dotted around that country.
And that, of course, we've just seen on the screen is Tatiana Stepanova. That is Yaroslava Mahuchikh's coach. Very, very good coach. We see her often, again, very emotional, very invested in her athlete's success. Someone who's also very invested. Already equaled her personal best is Charity Hufnagel with her second attempt at 196.
At the height, not quite the distance there. Perhaps not quite the speed on the runway required.
And again, it's very interesting because she has this multi-event run up. We're seeing, if you compare her technique to a Yaroslava Mahuchikh, to a Yuliya Levchenko, that really run out that bend, that really build up the speed, that take off a lot further from the bar, it's very different. And again, what she talks about, she relies on that strength that she's built up from the heptathlon over the year, and that's why she's often a little closer and has to go up a little steeper.
Here is Zodzik just pulling out of that one. Now, it's her choice. If she started her attempts within the time, then she will have time to get back and reset. Have a go again. And it looks like that's what she's going to do. Yeah, she's back at her mark. So we can expect her to take her second attempt at 196. Of course, she'll have less time to compose herself. Not to be. So a third attempt looming. Morgan Lake will be next up, also for her second attempt at 196. Here's the replay low of the last jump. Just a reminder, you're watching the What Gravity Challenge live from the Qatar Amphitheatre in Doha. The brainchild of Mutaz Essa Barshim, ably assisted by the Qatari Athletic Federation. And this is Great Britain's Morgan Lake looking to equal her season's best of 196. This is her second attempt. And she too is going to have to come back and pay another visit to this height.
Shakes her head there. Not quite sure what's right, but that's what you've got a coach for.
Yeah, shaking the head is definitely the coach's job, isn't it? But again, isn't it a lovely touch? But you know, there's no requirement on meetings to provide funding for coaches to come out. A lot of the time they have to pay for it themselves, and you know, athletes tend to fly a long way around the world. Not a cheap option, but it's great to see so many coaches here great to actually spend some time with them in the hotel and question them about their sport, question them about their views on the future of the sport, what's wrong with the sport, what's going right with the sport. They're deeply ingrained, and they're a good bunch to have a little chat to.
Michaela Hruba definitely engaging the crowd here with her second attempt at 196. Nope, also not to be for her. Will have to have a go with her last attempt.
Hufnagel then. Saw her briefly because she is the next athlete out on the runway. Our drone continues to bring you fantastic aerial shots of this fascinating city, which changes on a yearly basis. I've been coming here myself since 2006, when I think pretty much the only hotel was the Sheraton. For the Asian Games, they had to get 3 cruise liners in the port because there weren't enough hotel rooms in the city to accommodate the people working at the event. Certainly not a problem now.
Let's hope the bar is not a problem for Charity Hufnagel with her last attempt for a personal best at 196.
Oh, that was so close.
That was so close, and she knows it as well.
Well, she's in some decent form. It's the multi-eventer, and nice to see her smiling. I think she's very pleased to be here. She's certainly got that vibe over the last couple of days that she was delighted to be involved in this event. I'd love for her to have got this. It was the merest of touches.
Just the back of her leg, I think, just really
was it the calf?
Grazing it. No, it's the upper,
maybe
her
just
right,
the upper leg, yeah.
Right hamstring, I think, but really, really close, and great effort from her in her first pro outing.
Absolutely. Zodzik, and she also gives it a rattle, but it stays there.
He threw away my pen there. That was pretty good from Maria Zodzik. Last attempt at 196.
She's just now 2 centimeters off her lifetime and season's best of 198. So they've all been there or thereabouts when it comes to optimum heights. Zodzik, by the way, will go into a second place in this What Gravity Challenge high jump event.
Some communication.
Oh, I think one of the one of the previous athletes was standing in front of the timing clock, so she couldn't see how long she got left. That may have been the problem. Anyway, this is Morgan Lake of Great Britain. Oh, and the 27-year-old, I'm afraid, got that one all wrong. And she will exit the competition here in Doha, ranked in 5th place. I think we'll go to 198. That's the next height we have on our progression list.
And I think I can see Yaroslava Mahuchikh standing up and stretching a little bit. So considering she's only just taken 2 casual jumps, she might go and join the rest of them. But let's take a look at Michaela Hruba, already really emotional. I'm really impressed actually that she managed to calm herself down, compose, and get back into the competition after that season's best from her of 94, excuse me. 196 would be a lifetime best for Michaela Hruba.
Not to be, I'm afraid.
Today.
That personal best from February of 2016 will remain, but It was nice to see her reaction when she cleared the previous height. Made her obviously very, very happy, made us happy too. And I'm sure she'll be taking that form onwards into what, as we discussed earlier, is a very, very long season.
And I think, as you mentioned, it's the confidence that something like this gives you. Again, she's been struggling with injury, felt the pressure of herself, of her younger self, and now getting close to those heights, no pun intended, from back in 2016 is great for the Czech athlete, and she can leave here with her head up, held high. And currently in third, because she skipped the height.
Indeed.
Next up is Yaroslava Mahuchikh.
So Mahuchikh is now, of course, down in third position, yeah, as you say.
Eleanor Patterson and Maria Zodzik.
So here we go then. She's back in the competition, wearing that very distinctive kit. Oh, goodness me. We are watching a master at work here. 3 jumps, and it was the high jump equivalent of popping down to the grocery store to pick up some milk, wasn't it? Effortless.
I mean, she really, really makes it look effortless. I don't think I've ever really seen a strained effort from her. It's always graceful. I remember talking to her before the Tokyo Olympics, and she talked about the high jump, and she compared herself to a sparrow, and she really talked about how high jump looks or makes her feel like flying.
We're giving away so many great prizes all on our social media. World Gravity Challenge. Give us a follow on Instagram to stay up to date with all our events, and also.
Next up will be Levchenko, fellow Ukrainian, currently ranked in 4th place. Remember to bring the right flag, which is great. Just a reminder, the bar's at 198.
It was founded in the 19th century in Scotland. It's been a staple in the modern Olympic Games since the century in 1896. Now the women joined in 1925. What a remarkable time, what a remarkable history. Now a lot of these athletes, they use the phosphorus flop, and this is why working
so some of them have decided that they've enjoyed their time on the Arabic carpets, but they're back in the more traditional plastic chairs. And she's back in her sleeping bag, because it's only about 30 degrees. We're sitting here in a linen shirt and shorts.
She's not sitting anywhere. Yuliya Levchenko skipped her last attempt at 196 and moved straight up to 198. If she clears this, she would move straight back up the standings. Yuliya Levchenko with her first and last attempt at 198.
So make or break for the second Ukrainian, and it's break, I'm afraid. So she will exit the competition, but looks like she's had a pretty enjoyable evening. I imagine, well, I say I imagine, the betting I would be that some of them stay and watch the men's competition, some will go back to the hotel to get a shower in, or...
Some of them actually have to leave tonight. Yaroslava Mahuchikh is out tonight because she's heading over back to Asia, or the other side of Asia, because she will be competing at the Tokyo Continental Tour Gold Meet.
Indeed she will.
So a few athletes straight out tonight, but...
And one of the main organisers is out tonight as well.
But of course, let's focus on the competition at hand and the efforts of our remaining athletes. This 196 really thinned out the field quite a bit, hasn't it?
pretty much.
Now, for those that don't know, What Gravity Challenge is a premier high jump competition founded by Qatar Olympic gold medalist and also three-time world champion.
So a couple of little technical gremlins, I think, which are just being resolved now. It came up on our board that it was going to be Mahuchikh to jump, but it is, of course, Patterson.
In a unique and culturally rich setting. And speaking of cultural setting, look at that amphitheater. This is definitely a match.
These are the guys with never ceases to amaze me how much difficulty the odd pass causes in high jumping or pole vault. Athletes often put an pass in and the scoring system goes a little haywire for a minute or two. We will get it sorted. I can tell you that Patterson is the next jumper and she is on the runway.
Just quick shout out to Alfonsiuk, who told me that Michaela Hruba is actually also out on the same flight as Yaroslava to Tokyo. So
now that is knowledge. That is knowledge. There's nothing like getting a text from somebody who's fascinated in our commentary. Although most of the texts I get about my commentary are not fascinated based. Well, we are going to get to the end of this little technical hiccup pretty quickly. Athletes don't seem to be finding it too much of a strain. It does mean that Eleanor Patterson has been standing there for some considerable time. But consummate professional, I'm sure she'll be able to handle it. Oh, brave attempt by the Australian. So that's a first-time failure for her. Just slowed down to a little bit of a crawl at the moment. But this competition is at the business end now, so make sure we get it right for you. Bar, remember, at 1m98, there is your current leader. Wrapped up against the inverted commas elements. What an absolutely extraordinary athlete she is. Reeling off her successes yesterday. Olympic champion, world champion, European indoor champion, world record holder, best eyelashes.
it's not called eyelashes, it's called
Eye makeup.
eyeliner.
Eyeliner.
Oh, we'll do it.
I'm so off the
run-through.
female pace when it comes to makeup accessories. I do apologise.
Oh, it looks like we're back in the game. Again, Eleanor Patterson, mentally really strong athlete. Let's hope this hasn't impacted her too much and she can go back, focus on this second attempt at 198.
So here we go then. Australia will be visiting the height again. Close, but that's a second-time failure for Eleanor Patterson.
I'm sure she'll be slightly irritated, but again, one more attempt to go. And the opportunity.
What is great, the second edition, having so many great athletes from around the world.
These athletes do spend an inordinate amount of time together. I'm always fascinated about what they talk about and how they don't run out of subjects. Being British, we'd start with the weather and we'd end with that. So, of course, being the single athlete left at 198, she gets a little bit more time in between jumps, just pointing to the timing clock, actually, as we mention it. So Eleanor Patterson of Australia, she's got one attempt left, the 28-year-olds. And I'm afraid to say it is not to be for Eleanor Patterson, but another strong change. Had a little bit of a wobble in the middle, scraped away over 194, and then came back strong at 196, but unfortunately 198 was just a little bit too much.
Definitely would have had the height there. It's just, you can see, also having to take multiple attempts in close proximity to one another. But that's sport for you, live sport for you.
Certainly is. So there we go, here are the standings, which I don't think are correct, actually, if I'm being brutally honest.
No, because we saw Yaroslava Mahuchikh clear that 198, but I wonder whether that was part of the problem, whether they actually forgot to raise the bar.
I'm just actually looking at one of the LED boards in the vicinity, and they've just changed it round now, so they have now confirmed that Mahuchikh has cleared, and Patterson had those 3 failures. So it's going to be the Yaroslava show for the rest of the evening. How high does she want to go? Hopefully when the graphics board turns over, we'll get a clue of exactly what her plans are.
But that means, if the board is correct, she was going to pass the 196, but they've given her 196, so I wonder whether she actually cleared 196. They hadn't raised the bar yet, so she'll now attempt the 198. That's what it actually looks like.
Well, that's a fascinating prognosis, isn't it? I mean, there was that little bit of uncertainty with the technical officials.
Yes. We'll confirm
as soon as we can.
We know.
At the moment, dear viewer, you know as much as we do. Well, whatever height it was, she gave it a tickle.
So it looks like she actually asked to raise the bar now, being the only athlete left, to 2 meters.
I'm still a little confused about the previous height.
The 196, 198, I'm not 100% sure on, but all is forgotten.
Indeed.
Because she's clear over 2 meters,
Absolutely.
and that's what matters.
So that won't unduly distress her too much. It may have distressed your 2 commentators for 10 minutes or so, as we hadn't got the foggiest idea what was going on at that
Zip
point.
of water
Well,
after that
I think you could be right, because she was the first jumper, wasn't she? And she passed that, so it may well be that she was jumping 198, thinking she was jumping 198, but actually ended up jumping 196. Anyway, it doesn't matter now, because she's the only athlete left. She's cleared 2 meters, no one else has, so she will be the winner of the competition. Bar height, it would seem, going from that graphic, is going to go to 202.
So many great people from around the world.
Just having a little look at what, of course, she's done so far this season, and 202 would be a lifetime best.
Are you excited for the male athletes?
201 her best so far in 2025. And if you want to be truly amazed, that world record, of course, 2 meters 10 in the Olympic Stadium in Paris.
I believe it was actually at Charlotte. if I'm not mistaken.
It wasn't. It was July, wasn't it? Of course it was.
It was.
Of course it was.
This is why you bring me along, Andy.
Absolutely, it's to put me right on these things.
And she is
The
getting
Olympics was
ready.
a few weeks later, of course, wasn't it?
Absolutely, she's getting ready for her next jump. And I think she's actually gone over to the DJ and request some new music. So really making this competition her own now.
Absolutely.
And why shouldn't she?
My only concern with athletes requesting songs is I do hope the DJ's got the clean versions of them. I was requested a song by an athlete who shall remain nameless. And I think there were 3 words in the entire song that weren't swear words, so I had to explain to him, brackets, in Swedish, brackets, that we weren't allowed to play it. But it does bring a nice personal touch to these events. Makes the athletes, I assume it makes them feel more comfortable hearing music they're used to hearing.
And she's getting into it, she's getting back into the groove.
She's having her own little party.
And rightly so.
So here we are then. This is the winner of the competition, basically the winner of most competitions, come to think of it. This is Yaroslava Mahuchikh, the bars at 2:02, and she has set a season's best, just like that.
Smooth, plain sailing.
That's what, her 5th jump of the competition, something like that?
Yep.
So,
Energy conserving, efficient.
yes. How far does she want to go? That is going to be the question. Just chatting to her coach out of shot at the moment. As you watch the replay, they're having a earnest discussion.
And I think the big thing with Yaroslava, I find that is so impressive, is that with everything that is going on in the world, that is going on in Ukraine, she clears a world leading 2:02, puts herself on top of the world. But she's such a great ambassador for the sport. I mean, she really turns out. She's always the first up at press conferences. She advocates for the causes she believes in. Don't know whether you remember this, but after the Olympics last year, she donated over $20,000 to an animal charity, an environmental charity, to support homeless animals in Ukraine. She donated to the armed forces and psychological support for those, so really cares about community and is a world-class athlete.
Well, she's somebody who's very good for the sport, full stop. You know, tremendous athlete, wonderful communicator in a number of languages, a very decent person at the end of the day. And personally, I could watch a high jump all night, as indeed we have been. The bar's going to go to 2:04, by the way, which would improve her world lead should she get it. And that would be 10 centimetres underneath that lifetime best, which I'm going to say was set in Paris, just to be safe. Otherwise, I'm going to be corrected again. So just a reminder, if you're new to the sport, gone to 2:05, gone to 2:05. So that's, I now understand. I saw her flick her index finger at her coach saying, let's add one more.
Ah, yes.
So that's what that little secret communication was. The 1 centimetre's gone on to 2:05. But yeah, just to say, if you're not a regular fan of high jump, the reason that we are not seeing any high jump at the moment is that when we come down to the final competitor, by the way, the guys have bothered to turn up to watch the girls, which is a reversal of last year. Of course, they're competing a little bit later. But the reason we don't have any high jump at the moment is that if you're the only remaining competitor, normally when there's other athletes in the field still with you, you get 1 minute between jumps, but she will be getting longer than that now. 3 minutes, I think it is, at this moment in time. So she'll just reset, do her shoelaces up, as you can see there.
And I'm just having a look at the all-time list, because with the bar moving up to 2:05, there are only, her included, 12 athletes in the history of the sport that have ever gone over 2:05. That is just showcasing her absolute strength and domination in this event this early in the season.
Keep coming back to it, don't we? It's only May. It's only early May. I've been lucky enough to get to a few meetings around the world already. And that's a constant thought that people bring up. You know, people running very, very quickly. Some amazing performances in the USA, particularly over 100 and 200 meters. It's only early May. I don't think it would affect this young lady if she could jump in the snow in December and she'd still threaten 2 meters, if I'm honest.
I would not bet against that. 2:05, world lead already under her belt. And her first attempt now that she can raise the bar as high as she wants.
First failure of the evening for the Olympic champion, and shake of the head from the coach.
Yeah, you can see there, she cut through that bend a little too early.
And as you watch the replay, I can see her bowing to the crowd. You might get a live shot of that at the moment. I think she's been given the signal to call it a day. Yep, pretty certain that is the case. Yep, waving to the crowd. So the women's What Gravity Challenge high jump event has come to, well, I'm not going to say a predictable end, but I'm going to say has come to the end that personally I thought it might do. Because this girl is an absolute class apart at the moment. She is a tremendous athlete. She's great for the sport. And it's another win for Yaroslava Mahuchikh, another win for the coach.
Yeah, there we can see Tatiana Stepanova, such a supportive coach. She's always by her side, always in the background. She's very, very respectful of her superstars. The level of attention that she now also gets around the world. But a world-leading result. What a great way to kick off this women's competition on the What Gravity Challenge as well.
So Mahuchikh wins from Patterson in second place. Levchenko in third, Morgan Lake 4, Hruba 5, Hufnagel 6, Onnen 7, Honsel in 8. That's the top 8 from this competition. There'll be a small break now while we reset. The women athletes will be collecting their stuff and getting changed into their trackies or their even bigger tog sleeping bags if you're the Olympic champion. And they'll make their way off the field of play and they'll be replaced by the men. They'll be involved in a probably 20 or 30 minute warm-up, I would imagine. I'm not sure we'll get the full 30-minute warm-up. I imagine they'll be pretty keen to get getting on with it.
I don't think it'll take that long. I had a chat with some of them yesterday, and I know that they've already been doing some strides and warming up in the background. And obviously, yesterday they've already checked their run-ups. Of course, they'll still have to test them a couple of times now, but that means hopefully we won't be too long and we will be able to get the men's competition underway shortly.
Yeah, there are 12 of them, so that would normally take a few minutes.
So keep your eyes open, just on the prize, but also all these great athletes that are here tonight.